Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Anything for my princess.
I am serious, and don't call me Shirley.
Sweet relief. Guys, how are you doing? This is Isaac Anderson.
I'm Lettuce Brown.
And this is Big Bang Cinema, and this is the show where we talk about movie news, movie reviews, and everything in between. And
John Woo's the in-between today.
how was your week, man?
It's been frustrating.
Frustrating? Just like my life.
Trying to get in all the work I haven't done all year in like two days.
I called that Thursday night. And over here, the man with the two occupations in his name, the red hair, the bearded man, the dipper snipper, Mr. Hunter Baker. How you doing? And just like everybody else in my life, he's not paying attention. Okay, and we got Mr. Christopher Darkins, the man with the color in his name, the luscious hair, and the man that woke up an hour and a half ago.
We just got Chris. Right here.
Did you just call dark a color?
It's a color to me, baby. It's a feeling more.
Okay, that's enough of that.
Yeah,
Let's start off with our movie news today.
Okay, what we got?
We got the Dove Man himself, John Woo, to remake The Killer with Lupita Nyong'o.
Yeah, and for those that don't know John Woo, what has he directed?
If you've ever seen an action film and somebody was jumping from the side and they had two guns in their hand, there was some doves behind him, most likely he did that movie.
Yeah, the big thing that comes to mind is Mission Impossible 2, The Killer, obviously. You seen any of his other films?
No, you got to name them off. I know I've seen them.
Okay, Mission Impossible 2. If you've seen that, you know exactly what John Woo does for a living.
Yeah.
And all his films are pretty much like that, but The Killer is kind of the one that like established him. And to my knowledge, he's been around for a while, but I mean, that's kind of like that was one of the biggest ones he did. How do you feel about him going back to one of his older films?
I really don't care.
You really don't care?
Not at all.
You don't?
I'm probably not going to watch it.
You probably okay. Well, Lupita Nyong'o, she was recently in Black Panther.
Oh, she was 12 Years a Slave.
She was in 12 Years a Slave. Yeah, she's been in a lot of great movies.
I think she got an Academy Award, doesn't she?
Do you think that John Woo's style is more suited for men jumping to the side, like with doves, or do you think that might translate a little better, well, like the same way with with a woman of color like that? Do you think that kind of style would be the same with like in a woman in the role, or do you, like what do you think?
You know what I'm thinking about?
Cheese?
I think that people with Academy Awards should get a title, like a suffix in their name, like the equivalent of sir. Don't you think so?
Where's this coming from?
I don't know. I'm just thinking about it, like Lady Lupita Nyong'o or something like that.
They kind of demote the thing because it's just giving it to each other.
Yeah.
But yeah. John Woo, I'm not huge on John Woo films. A lot of them feel pretty much the same to me. And
it's all the same movie. It's just you're just watching it with different actors.
But the dude is like in his 70s now, and it's like I'm really curious because directors change as they get older. I'm wondering like how exactly is a John Woo movie going to be from a 72-year-old man?
A lot slower.
A lot slower. The joints are going to hurt a little bit more. But I just wonder, I mean, like, especially, I always find it interesting when a director goes back to its own film and tries to revisit it in some way, form, or fashion. And that doesn't always work. I mean, George Lucas revisiting Star Wars was a disaster.
Yeah, terrible.
Steven Spielberg revisiting Indiana Jones didn't work out as well for everybody.
Well,
but I mean, sometimes it does. I mean,
well, I mean, this is a remake. This is not a soft reboot.
Yeah, but I mean, it'll probably be a soft reboot. I mean, like that's what most of these movies are now, because a straight remake is not always the best thing. But George Miller revisiting Mad Max, that's one of the best movies of that year. I mean, and possibly like the last few years. I mean,
there's a whole lot of freedom with Mad Max,
Yeah, but John Woo, I mean, he does one thing. He's a one-trick pony for sure, but he does that one trick pretty well. I don't like the trick, but personally, I've never really seen a movie that he's done that stars like a woman. It's mostly just dudes just jumping with guns and everything. I wonder how that's going to translate.
No, side jumping with guns.
Side jumping with guns. I'm sorry, and doves flying out everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how that's going to like. I have no doubt that a woman is capable of doing that role. I just don't know how his style. His style is like very masculine.
I mean,
I think it'll feel weird. Almost like that.
I was watching one of his movies and people shooting each other on a plane. I mean, how they jump from the side and they're in a plane. And then I saw these doves come over. I'm like, where were these doves? How'd they get the doves inside the plane?
Wait, what movie was that?
It was one of his movies, I believe, I was watching.
That doesn't narrow it down. There's a lot of movies he does.
I know, it was one of them. Okay, 'cause I know it was one of his movies.
Anyway, I think we talked enough about that, guys. Do you have any opinions on that? And Hunter's Googling something. Okay. Oh, Hunter just failed to shoot. Tyler! Never mind. Oh, wow, you hit a sound effect. Oh, my goodness. You hit a sound effect with it. That was amazing. Good for you. Speaking about hitting sound effects and not liking what you see, A Quiet Place is going to be getting a sequel.
A Quieter Place.
A Quieter Place. No, it's going to be a loud place, a loud and obnoxious place. Just like the theater you were in when you saw this movie.
Oh, serious. Honey, is that the guy from The Office? And then this is like dead in the middle of the movie. They was stalking him down there. Everybody's trying to be quiet. And they're, yeah, he's the guy from The Office. Shh.
Yeah, well, do you want, like, we both saw A Quiet Place. And we reviewed it. I really enjoyed A Quiet Place. I think the score and the sound design was obnoxious. You thought it was just okay.
Yeah, it was all right. I mean, I like the special effects. I thought the visuals and, I mean, the direction was good.
Yeah.
The plot line was it's all right, but...
It's like an M. Night Shyamalan movie. It's kind of like really good
beautiful,
directing and like a really well-made film.
I mean, I mean, those beautiful scenes and the lighting.
It's kind of a
was
schlock concept, you know.
But the cinematography was amazing. The lighting was phenomenal. The editing was really well done. I mean, it was a well-made film.
Yeah. Do you think that this deserves a sequel?
I'll give it one.
Give it one? Why?
Because I want to see A Quieter Place. I want to see if like there is such a quieter place. I wonder what it's going to be about. You think it's going to be a whole different family?
I don't think it should happen, is the thing. I said in my review, I'm like, I hope this movie doesn't get a sequel because it doesn't need one. It was good enough. It's like making The Sixth Sense 2, you know what I mean? It doesn't work. It's a kind of a one-off concept, and if you do this anymore, it kind of ruins the simplicity of it, and trying to make an expanded universe.
It'd be cool if it takes place, the School of the Deaf, and they've just been like unbothered. If you see the movie, you know what I'm talking about.
That was pretty good.
They have no idea it's actually happening.
Yeah, they have no,
oh yeah,
no
they're just
clue.
like, wow, this guy just got mauled by somebody. That's weird.
Yeah.
They can still read though. They still read newspapers. But that was a good one. I gotta say.
A school for the blind and deaf.
School for the blind and
Oh yeah, I mean, they just be like, ow!
No, they're just like wandering around. It's like, where'd all the teachers go?
That's kind of weird, isn't it?
Oh, I could just imagine that. God. I'd watch it. I'm really excited about that now. You know who needs to direct it?
Who?
Now let's take another different. Let's do Ang Lee and let him direct it.
Oh, so discount John Woo?
Discount John Woo.
Well, actually, it's a completely different John Woo. I take that back. But yeah, this movie does not need a sequel. But when Hollywood smells money, it's definitely going to happen. If John Krasinski, I don't know if John Krasinski is going to come back for this, like as the director. You know, spoiler alert, he dies in the movie. So I don't know I don't know if it's going to follow Emily Blunt, you know, and her kids and everything. But the ending of the movie doesn't really serve itself to a sequel. It kind of does, but it's so stupid if they keep going with this.
Okay, what if, I don't know, they make a sequel to where the creatures there's more of them, but they're a whole lot easier to kill now, and people are just blowing them apart with a shotgun, just running.
So it's just a dumb action movie.
Yeah, like an.
What was that for? Hunters, this is why we don't allow the guns on the college campus.
Because all he was explaining was another action movie.
Yeah, nobody wants to see that.
I was about to say it's just going to be Aliens 2.
And that's Chris.
And you're probably right.
Aliens 2.
I haven't shot anything today.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, you've been saying Hunter the entire time.
Excuse me.
You shot an arrow through my heart, baby. But speaking about falling in love, James Franco is in this new science fiction movie called Kin.
Kim.
Kin.
Kim.
K-I-N.
Okay, I thought
like
it was
next to
called
Kim.
Kim. I thought it was about Korea.
No, that's called Peace. But yeah, this movie's called Kin. It's been it's supposedly we're kind of retreading on like an Amblin type feeling movie, which is Steven Spielberg's production house. So the whole premise of the movie is this kid finds a space gun, and James Franco's there, and people are trying to look for the gun. It's classic B-movie concept, but I don't know. What do you think about this? I don't know if you've looked at any of this or you even care. No? Okay, James Franco's in it. We might as well go ahead and move on to the thing you really do care about. And that was the Ken trailer. I think it looks kind of schlocky, but I'm excited. Yeah, and I think the guy that made a bunch of movies. I have the movies he made here real quick before we go on. I think it's really interesting.
Let me
The director is Jonathan Baker. He directed a movie called
snap!
Inconceivable.
Y'all related?
No. It's a movie called Inconceivable with Nicolas Cage.
Inconceivable.
And a bunch of people, and Faye Dunaway, so you know it's good. And a movie called Sexual Outlaws, and he also directed Chips 99.
Okay,
So,
not looking forward to this now.
and his brother's name is Josh Baker, just in case you wanted to know. But anyway, let's go. Let's talk about the next Marvel movie because this one.
All right, let's go. That's what we care about.
Okay. So Ant-Man and the Wasp
What?
just came out with a trailer.
Oh, and it's incredible.
Well, that was my next question. The big thing, minor spoilers for Infinity War. It's not really a spoiler because, I mean, this movie's coming out. Ant-Man is not in Infinity War. There's a kind of a throwaway line. He's off doing something, and he's on house arrest.
Yeah, he's under complete house arrest. What if this has happened at the same time as Infinity War?
It's got to be. I mean, like, no spoilers, but like, the ending of Infinity War is just kind of like not comparable. Like the tone for this movie would be completely different. You know what I mean? Like if it took place afterwards.
I believe that's the exact point of this movie, is showing what he was doing during Infinity War.
Yeah, I think, and it feels weird to me after Infinity War how some of the darker elements kind of played into that. How does it feel like right after that big heavy thing to have this fun lighthearted thing with Ant-Man and the Wasp like right after it? You know what I mean? It feels kind of odd. I was like, why did we had the biggest movie of all time? Now we get Ant-Man and the Wasp. Like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Feels kind of odd. I mean, I still think it'll be okay. You know.
I heard it was filmed in Raleigh. Some of it was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. But yeah, how do you feel like this is gonna pair after like Infinity War and how great that was?
I want an Apple too.
No, for real. How do you think it's gonna?
I think it'll be like kind of like a small relief. Like everybody's gonna be like, because I let theater people crying.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping this is gonna start out me kind of like hey, let's pick it up a little bit, the mood, let's uplift the steam train a little bit, and then we'll do before we drop them back down with the next Infinity Wars.
Yeah, I'm really curious because I imagine this is going to be nice Marvel entertainment that we're used to, but I just don't know if I want to if I'm that excited for it after Infinity War, just because Infinity War was just so grandiose and so big.
It. I believe, if I'm correct, there's a giant Pez dispenser in this movie.
Oh, who cares? I mean, this movie's
my
not good.
whole life, I've known nothing more than to see a giant Pez dispenser.
I don't know. What do you guys think?
Think about the Pez that comes out of it. It's like a brick. You make a house out of them things.
I don't know. I think there has to be something to it. It's going to be related in some way. Even if it's overall lighthearted in tone, there's going to be something that kind of pulls it.
And it's got to have an after credit scene that's going on
I think that it'll tie into Infinity War when the movie's over.
Well, what if he's the one that beats Thanos?
Maybe so.
Like he crawls out of his ear, just expands, boom, blows his head up.
I'd watch that. Chris, what do you think?
I mean, I'm personally kind of excited for this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just it's after this big Infinity War, but I mean, I'm still kind of excited for this movie. Just see what's going on besides the Infinity War.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm excited for it too. I'm just curious to see
Ghost.
Well, I'm just more curious to see how they're gonna kind of tie it in and keep the excitement going.
Well, yeah, that as well.
For that, because we had the biggest movie ever, and now it's this one. How are they going to keep the steam train going?
They got to keep the party going. That's all I can really.
It's kind of like Empire Strikes Back, and then the Ewok movie. You know what I mean? It's just it doesn't. It's not as exciting because you're so focused on what's going to happen after the big movie.
Hold on. Did you compare this to the Ewok movie?
Well, you know what I mean.
Did you really do that?
It's not a fair comparison.
No, it's not a fair comparison.
But you know what I mean.
Let's redraw your comment and just say this is the relief, the lighthearted relief you get after such a. Oh, why are you doing that?
Thank you. I think
because you're complaining so much.
I'm not complaining.
This is like a glass of milk after eating a Pepsi.
He's complaining about the movie.
I think you're right there.
That you could get it at Chili's.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was about to say.
We're catching on.
It's not the Chili's part. I was going to go for more of Andy's.
It's always the Chili's.
Yeah.
You expect it. You know it's on the menu. You guys, it's not gonna be great, but I mean, the stuff in there. You know it's in there. And you're like, it's a salad. I want croutons, ranch. It's just like that.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
man.
there's little kids running around with little light-up shoes, and they won't get away from your table.
That was genius. Where'd you come up with that?
I don't know.
It's like a piece of chicken on a plate.
I almost feel like something's been etched into my subconscious.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, please leave a comment at facebook.com/studio67ncc. We would love to hear what you guys have to say.
Okay, I didn't say it.
Okay, I know you didn't say it.
Okay.
Guys, thank you so much for watching. When we come back, we're going to discuss a little bit more about some comic book movies. But first, enjoy these commercials.
Sports Luke 89.1 WNIA Big Bang Radio. Right here. We kick off at 1:30 p.m. and we go to 3 o'clock and then we go past 3 and go into overtime. It doesn't matter because everybody's a winner right here with Sports Luke. Kicking off talking about NFL, NBA, NCAA, college basketball, college football, local high school action going on around here in football and basketball. Sports Luke 89.1 WNIA Big Bang Radio. Are you listening?
Did you know Nash Community College offers 12-degree programs entirely online? Are you interested in information technology? Explore information technology systems, network management, systems security, healthcare informatics, or web design and administration. These 2-year programs are only a few of the online associate degrees offered through Nash Online. Students receive the same quality instruction and resources as on-campus students without ever stepping foot on Nash's campus. Learn more about Nash Online today at online.nashcc.edu.
Golden Corral makes me feel that way also. Guys, thank you so much for watching so far. I'm Isaac Anderson.
I am Lettuce Brown.
And welcome back to Big Bang Cinema. So, for the segment this week, Infinity War came out this...
What? It did?
Yeah, this last weekend, and it's the biggest opening of all time. And movies come out every other weekend, but, you know, this one was
The biggest opening of all time.
Biggest opening of all time. It demolished the Justice League movie, like, in the first few hours, I think. Like, just, like, complete. But that brings us to this discussion I wanted to have, and that is, I wanted to think a little bit more about where comic book movies are going to lie in the years to come. Because, I mean, now we're kind of coming to the end of... the end of the Marvel kind of train, the big first part of their big master plan.
Oh yeah, the master plan.
Yeah. What you giggling about?
I'm just thinking about just the stuff and how DC has failed.
Well, we'll talk about that. Yeah. I kind of see where superhero movies are going to be going after Infinity War Part 2, after that kind of whole chapter comes to a close. Yeah, I'm really curious. You guys can chime in too. So, Infinity War, like you can watch a review. It's going to be up on Facebook Friday at 9 o'clock. So we all review it. Spoiler alert, we all really enjoyed it. But this has been going on for like 10 years, man.
10 years.
And we're finally coming to like Infinity War felt like half of the end. Like it had some finality to it. I'm very excited to see where they're going to go from here. And I won't spoil anything for you while we're on this episode. But
what I think is going to happen is they're going to make even more movies after this.
Okay, well that's the thing. With a decade of these big franchise movies and all these other people trying to do this too, how do you think?
Fail.
Do you
fail?
Even Marvel?
Fail. No, they'll do all right.
Complaining again, man.
Nah, I personally think that as far as the movies go, Marvel's going to be fine after this.
I keep shooting me.
I mean, they've been doing this for 10 years, but they have like, what, 70 years of material to pull from? Mm-hmm. DC, on the other hand, they should just keep making really adult, gritty Batmans and just be happy that works.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more with that, actually. Yeah.
Like, just do that. It works. You know, just don't rush them out the door.
So exactly, because, Marvel, since the 60s, have not changed much. I mean, they've pretty been consistent in their comic universe. You know, once they had like a different universe, but DC, they change it up every few years. They constantly reboot with their material, so you got half stories and half stories that were never finished. So it's just really hard to sit
it's like
through.
Every time they get a new artist, they do that.
I personally think that with DC, they should stick more to TV shows because their TV shows are great.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that, actually. Yeah,
are great.
But I think Kevin Feige actually went on record saying that Phase 4 of Marvel is going to be this completely different thing. And I don't know exactly what that means, but I take that as kind of like it's not just going to be like, like 2 movies a year and a team up. Like I don't think it's going to be something like that. I don't know how exactly it's going to be, but do you think it's going to be as big of a deal?
I think they're just going to inject the memories of us watching the movies straight to our brains.
That sounds horrific.
Yeah,
but
I'll enjoy it.
Maybe as far as reaching the same level of mainstream success, like they'll have an issue with that. But there's always this like huge like niche audience of like comic book fanatics that are always going to be excited about a new comic book movie coming out, no matter like how mundane it actually is going to be.
Yeah.
See, what I believe is it's like a spreading of multimedia. But instead of independent multimedia, you're going to have a larger universe collected in the multimedia.
What do you mean by that?
Like you're going to have some more TV films that fit in the universe. You're going to have some more like online streaming films and television shows that fit into it. Maybe a made-for-TV movie, higher budget made television. Instead of having a show that like with their Shield, which for what it does, it's better than you think it's going to be. Just instead of like that just to sell the movies, you're going to have them up there just the story on the TV, not to sell the movies, just for people to watch the TV.
Yeah, and I'm kind of with you on that. Like I think that they're going to start embracing, like they already are, embracing a lot of these different formats, like Netflix streaming services. ABC has a few shows on like that. Even the DC crowd and like all these other superhero movies that come out, like they have other things going on besides just the films. But I just don't know if it's going to be as... I personally don't think they're going to be as big of a deal after Infinity War. I think they're always going to make a decent amount of cash. I think they're always going to be somehow tying back into the bigger picture. But do you think they're going to be reaching the $1 billion mark like this Infinity War is ever again?
I think so, possibly. I mean, there are bigger stories than Infinity War in the Marvel Comics. I mean, Thanos was dropping the buck of some of the people they faced in the stories.
Oh, wow.
Like I feel like it all depends on where they take the next arc. Because like if you can view all this as like the 10 years leading up to this is like the Thanos arc of the Marvel Universe, and like what's that next big arc that they have?
The Kang arc.
So it's like there's tons of potential there.
Yeah.
Like the only thing that I worry about is like this long format storytelling is the fact that in the real world the actors age.
Yeah.
So it's like, what's going to happen when we have to like replace certain characters that we've become like associated to a particular actor?
I'm thinking that too. Yeah.
What happens in that?
Revolving door. You can just like replace them with another character.
To me, I feel like it's almost like, you guys watch The Walking Dead, or have you?
I used to.
Real quick, we'll go on to this and one more. And I know we're running out of time, but it's like The Walking Dead started off really strong. Again, this is based on a comic anyway, but I mean, The Walking Dead had all these really awesome episodes, really good character development, and then they ran out of stuff to do. And so they started doing the same thing all over again.
See, that was my problem. I mean, they had a whole lot more source material to use, and they just kind of...
I mean, I'm using this more as like a bouncing off point. Like, even though the comics have all this stuff to go off from, I personally think that eventually something's going to set in and we're like, okay, it's like the 57th Iron Man that we're seeing. Robert Downey Jr. is like 97. How exactly is this going to go?
So I think the problem with The Walking Dead was that it was originally, it's not really about zombies, it's about how people would react to other people in an apocalypse type situation. So it was like based on that, like let's explore that idea and like what would happen. So like psychopaths emerge, they gain power, that society fails as like the democratic society goes forward. So like dictatorships don't actually like work even in this situation. That's what it was all about. The problem with that is that it went on too long.
Yeah.
It's like because at a certain point you're like, oh well this guy, he's then another bad guy, and it's like the same villain over and over again, just kind of like, oh but this one's even worse. But it's like,
I mean, because some of these villains were like 2-issue villains. I mean, they killed the governor like within like 15 minutes of meeting the man.
Yeah, let's stop talking about The Walking Dead and kind of take it to the comic book movie. Like, place that in there. Because, I mean, they're kind of both long-term storytelling, though.
If they stay pretty consistent with the source material and they keep the same ideal as source material is going, I mean, it'll do well. I mean, the comics sold pretty well. The movie's probably going to sell really well, too.
Yeah. And real quick before we go, obviously, I mean, most of the Marvel movies, like, they've been quite successful. DC had stumbled a little bit out of the gate, a lot out of the gate, and they fell flat in their face with Justice League. I'll try not to dwell on that too much because we rag on them a lot. But how do you think those movies are going to go forward? Like the DC movies specifically. Do you think that whole tone that they tried to establish and they tried to get rid of real fast? Do you think they're just going to go reboot, or do you think it's just going to go straight into like, oh, well, we already started this, we might as well keep going with this kind
It's
of
gonna be
harder, gritty
inconsistent.
tone?
They're also going to jump between. It's going to be really inconsistent.
Like, I want to know how long like people will be willing to throw funding at it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
before, it's just like, well, no, that's not going to do well. Like this is just another train wreck, like on the way.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, I'm really curious now because, I mean, Justice League, you know, even though some people think it made a small profit, is considered a flop by the studio and by critics and by fans alike.
Well, look, dude, it's like Superman, right? Was like a train wreck. And then without clearing that out of the way, they were like, let's shoot another train down that same track. And they sent Superman versus Batman. And then that one hit that first train that was still there and spilled. And then they're like, Justice League.
Yeah.
So they just kept like, oh, well, it's not working. Let's rush to the next thing.
It was a
Maybe
train,
they
yeah.
wanted to take their time and do something with it, but they were like, we need to get something with a lot of hype behind it to just get interest in these movies.
Yeah.
And then the chemical spill happened, and it was all terrible.
See, they should have done what they were doing with Wonder Woman. It's
Yeah,
just
like-
individual stories.
Like Wonder Woman, fantastic. Like the Batman movies are generally good, you know, as long as they're adult, like gritty, dark atmosphere.
Well, he works for that character, yeah. Superman does not.
And so, no, you can't do that with Superman. You have to like choose your characters in DC and what you can do with that.
Yeah.
Different tones, different tone movies for different characters.
Yeah, I kind of do want to see a new Superman because the hardcore, gritty Superman is one I don't personally like, and I don't think many people out there want to see Superman slam a train into a building and like fly through like 70 buildings and watch them all fall over and cause like 9/11 times 1,000 because
Wait, you talking about Dragon Ball Z or Superman?
it's Superman. But you got anything else to add?
I just feel like they've like rebooted Superman too many times. Like,
I think this should just stop at this point. I really don't care much about it.
it's hard to get behind a character with so few weaknesses. It's like there's nothing compelling about his struggle.
Well, he's more of a metaphorical, like allegorical kind of a thing. He's more of like a power fantasy thing. He's made for 7-year-olds. Like, you can't put me to bed, I'm Superman. But when you apply that to like then try to make him a real person, it falls all to pieces. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't work because he's not a concept that's supposed to be real.
And there's not a lot of risk for him.
Yeah, and nobody wants to see hardcore, gritty Superman. And
I mean, is it brave to do that when you know
maybe
in
a
the
few,
end,
but
in the end, you know he's going to survive, and you know he's going to survive it anyway. Where's the bravery at?
like you said, Kryptonite's a kind of a cliche, but I think that the DC movies should probably just kind of stop for a little bit, and like you probably just make the Batman movies. But I think that train's still going to go on in some way, form, or fashion, but it's never going to be able to be as good as the other stuff that's out there, and that's kind of a shame because I think there's some
I
good
think there's
opportunities.
potential for like another good Wonder Woman movie.
Maybe well, they're making a second one. I just think that the tone that they established doesn't work because the characters are just so different and they didn't really establish it well. But
See, if they would have started out with the characters, I believe the film itself would have been a whole lot different.
yeah,
It would have been different.
Yeah, I just think the tone is the biggest thing. Their tone is all over the place.
No, but I mean, as far as oversaturation goes, like even if like it falls out of mainstream popularity, superhero movies will always have like an audience.
They've always had an audience. They've had an audience for the last 120 years.
They always will.
I
It
don't
just
know if
might
they're
not
gonna be
be
as big.
as mainstream.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be like everyone, but there's always going to be those fans that are like super involved.
Yeah. Well, I'm really curious to see what you guys think about this. If you guys want to leave a comment at facebook.com/studio67ncc or youtube.com/NashComCollege, I would really be curious to hear what you guys have to say about this because it's a good concept. Not everybody agrees with me. Maybe one day we'll have your friend and my friend too, Hayward. What's his last name?
Watford.
Watford, Hayward Watford on here. He's very much DC leaning, and he has a lot of different opinions on where these movies are going to go.
Of different
So maybe we'll have him on the show. Hayward, if you're watching this, we'd love to have you on the show, man. I don't agree with you on a lot of stuff, and I think it'd be a fun discussion. But guys, thank you so much. Woo! Next week we're going to be seeing a movie. No, I'm Isaac Anderson.
I broke my mic.
That's Tyler.
My mic is broken.
Stay lovely. My groin!